Sans gun. I'll read a couple of quick excerpts from the phony book. This is Chapter 3, Part 1, Colonizers and Dreamers, Friends and Appetite Havers. William Mulholland was a man of great appetites and even greater appetites. He was known to smoke a pipe and chew tobacco at the same time, except in the evening, when he would chew tobacco, smoke a pipe, and puff a cigar all at once. He could drink any man under the table, drink that man's wife over the table, and adopt his children in the aftermath. He had hundreds of children, and adopted scores more, and most of those children had children, and most of those children had dogs. Big, husky hunting dogs, many of whom had dogs of their own. His money was in water and sugar water, which was sold by the bucketload during Prohibition and made his great fortune into a greater fortune. He traveled on one of those hand-powered railroad thingies, sitting in a lounge chair of leather, stuffed with swan feathers, crewed by exotic immigrants in various faraway lands like Ireland and Idaho. Except when he was unsatisfied with the speed, he would take off his shirt and pump the damn thing himself. Mulholland traveled in this fashion and manner, despite miles and miles of trains that would get backed up behind him, because he loved to bask in the sun. He longed to build a place where he could bask permanently and baskingly. So he headed southwest, toward the Pacific, into the sun. But another man of similar mind had beaten him there. Hiram Doc Hollywood had come to California from the Topeka World's Fair of 1888 to build a dream factory that would bear his name. But dreams were a rough business. In his years of efforts, he could never figure out the formula to get the dreams into the heads of the sleeping people. And when the dream market took a beating in the panic of 1896, Doc Hollywood switched to movies. Movies and hills. What Hollywood really loved was hills. The hill, invented in England during the Industrial Revolution, was a booming market in the early 20th century. Doc Hollywood built his in the middle of the Los Angeles basin and capped them with a large sign of wooden whitewash reading Hollywoodland, doing all the work himself because he was paranoid of underlings and most other things. So paranoid, in fact, that years after he had erected the sign, he knocked down the land part of Hollywoodland because he became convinced a great flood would put his hills and his sign under the ocean, and the land would become a lie. There was indeed a flood coming to the arid land that would eventually be known as Los Angeles, but it was not the Milwaukeean deluge Doc Hollywood expected. It was a Mulhollandaise deluge. The two men would become close friends, then close rivals, then close enemies, then friends again, but not close friends. It was a friendship and an enemyship that would change Los Angeles forever. Jumping ahead to Chapter 3, Part 4, there's no business but show business. It was not in Hollywood where California's movie business began, though an early version of the Walk of Fame was already in existence in the early 20th century. Each celebrity star was drawn in dirt every morning, then raked every night, then redrawn the next morning. Hollywood Boulevard was then mostly a pathway for bicycles, which at the time had 5 wheels, each wheel bigger than the one behind it. The first film studios began in the barns and warehouses of Echo Park and Silver Lake, which were very different places before the hipster ships arrived on their shores decades later, bearing bearded people from distant islands with names like Coachella and Intelligentsia. No, the two famed neighborhoods were barely populated at the time, and Echo Park's pond, peasants and pedal boats fished for lotus and pickled eel. And the lake that gave Silver Lake its name was still a reservoir of pure liquid silver. Southern California was the perfect place for show business to sink its shallow roots in the era of silent film. Of course, at the time they weren't actually known as silent films, since there was no other kind. They were actually called no-talkies. It wasn't just the warm weather, sunlight, and cheap open spaces that made LA the perfect home for the burgeoning business of the no-talkies. The region's deep, rich celluloid mines were perfect for digging out that precious substance to process into film stock, before strip mining left the land as barren as the moon of Jupiter, and the cellulose killed every miner who ever mined there. And in places that are now suburbs like Pasadena and Old Placentia, there were vast fields of red poppies which could be woven into red carpets, which the early tribes of celebrities held sacred. Those first carpets were miles long and took days to walk, and stars would have to hold their poses for 9 hours, since that's how long one photograph took to take at the time. And oh, what stars they were in those early days, how brightly they shone. Nothing like today's one-dimensional siliclones. They could act, they could dance, they could sing, silently of course. They could do cartwheels, they could shine shoes till they sparkled, and they could write their own laws, and tap dance all the way to Sacramento and get them passed by the legislature. And I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ.
Oh no, no.